Well, for formality's sake, I'm just going to mention the phrase that I'm live at the Red House with Karla.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Visual artist. Thank you for coming over, for real. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So,
it's a lovely drive up.
I hope so. And it's starting to be pretty again. The trees are starting to have leaves again.
Do you have a camera on that long road, dirt road? Because I feel like you should.
I don't.
Unless you're trying to cover up the fact that you're a serial killer.
Right.
Then don't have a camera.
That would be bad evidence against me. Yes. This is so funny because the whole me being a serial killer thing, 2 episodes in a row now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sorry, folks. I don't.
Sorry.
I didn't do anything yet. Yet.
Wow.
I bet there are cameras out there, though. There are. Actually, no. I know that there are deer cameras out there somewhere. So who knows? Who knows what evidence has been gathered so far? But we'll just not worry about that until it gets real.
All right. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the obvious question, biographical stuff that I like to at least touch on to learn a little bit about your story is just like, like how you ended up becoming an artist in the first place, like what your introduction to creativity was.
Growing up, I was always doing something creatively, whether it was drawing or painting or writing. I used to write a lot. But I never knew what I wanted to do with my life. I hated my peers in high school. They knew exactly what they wanted to do right out of college. And I was so envious of that because I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something in art, but you have that thought, that voice in the back of your head that says you're not going to make any money doing that. Mm-hmm. So why even pursue it? And so I went into college for nursing. And then life happened. And I was a nurse for a year. And then I got married. And I was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years. And while I was a stay-at-home mom, I went deeper into painting, and I was doing oil paintings. And I had a few pieces up in a gallery in Charlotte where I was living at the time. And then when I moved into Winston and COVID came, that's when I started doing the digital illustrations. Mm-hmm. So that's what got me into that. I've only been doing the digital illustration side for I think a little over a year now. Maybe 2, however long COVID has been.
Yeah, about 2 years.
I've lost time, yeah.
Yeah.
So 2 years.
Yeah. So at what age were you doing writing and like your first steps into it? Was this fairly recent into your life or was that like a young age?
No, writing was middle school.
Yeah. Okay. What kind of writing?
Poetry, songs. But again, I don't sing. So that never came into anything. No.
All right. All right. I'm just saying. You wrote songs for some reason. I don't know. But
other people to sing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people do that.
Mm-hmm.
Writing was kind of I guess music did precede writing in some way, but writing was like really when creativity started to become a vision in my life from here. So it's like when, I don't know, it was like a different introduction into, it was a different doorway. It feels like that opened the idea of learning that you can express yourself. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Do you write your own music?
I do. Yeah. And I used to write fiction. That was like what got me into writing in the first place. So I just thought it was interesting. That was like middle school for me too. So, I wonder if there's some reason that writing opens doors, to creativity in general, but
yeah.
So visual art, though, seems like where you've kind of, that's just your strong suit? Is that?
Right now, that's where I've kind of settled into it, yeah.
So the digital illustration thing, mm-hmm. We met up like a week ago. You already told me a little bit about that, but I guess coming from painting, right? You said oil painting. Coming from oil painting, was that a difficult transition into the digital illustration thing?
No.
Pretty easy going?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't really know anything about what it means to be a visual artist in the world as far as like professionally. Like I know how musicians have to navigate things professionally, but I guess like for visual artists doing digital illustration, I guess what do you is that something that you want to do for other people a lot, or is that something that you want to build up as just like an artist that creates things that has an audience?
Um, I think a little bit of both. I think anytime I've done anything with art, it's been mainly for myself. And if other people enjoy looking at it, that's great. I love that. And parts of me want to keep it that way because I feel like if you're focusing too much on making art for other people and for other people to buy, then it becomes more work than it does something you love. And so I know that there's a balance in there that it's always been hard for me to find. And it's something that's like continuously I have to work at. So I want to do both. I want to do art that's just solely for me and for my own enjoyment, and art that's for other people.
When you say hard balance to find, like why is it? What do you mean it's a hard balance to find?
Because sometimes I feel like if you do too much of something on other people's terms, like if I were to have someone come up to me for a commission and I have one person that says, you do your thing, whatever you envision for my brand, whatever it is, I want you to come up with it. Versus someone who says, I need this, this, and this in a certain way, and I need it in this format and in this color palette. It's harder to do that because it's not really coming from you. It's coming from whatever they're thinking and whatever their vision is.
Yeah.
So finding a balance in enjoying both sides of that is what I mean.
I think it's hard as hell to enjoy the commission stuff. I just had an episode come out this morning that was part of which talked about I joined this website where people can commission songs to be written or whatever. And there is some aspect of that I think is valuable, and I think it speaks to it's really interesting to tap into this craft that I've been doing as like it's all about me for so long. It's really interesting to share that space with other people, but it's not something I can do very easily or that I'm willing to do very easily. It feels uncomfortable in some kind of way. I guess because art is such a private investment, you know? Mm-hmm. Is that kind of the idea you're getting at?
Yeah, it's hard to enjoy. When I was doing like the oil paintings for a gallery in Charlotte, and I'm super grateful for the gallery owner to let me be in her space for as long as I was. But I wanted to put out different art, different style. And she said, yeah, but this is what's selling right now from you. Mm-hmm. Which is accurate. But at the same time, you can't grow as an artist in staying in one specific spot. So it's like a love-hate relationship because you need money. Any artist needs money to survive.
Yeah.
But you also want to do things you love, and you also want to grow and explore. So.
Yeah, I feel that. I can't stand the idea of appealing to those patterns. Even just talking about not commission stuff, but like as a songwriter, if I thought that what I was doing was noticing, oh, this album sold better than that one, or it streamed better.
Let me stick to more of this area.
Can't stand that idea.
Right.
It's just not interesting to me. So what is it? I mean, like, I guess I'm going to look to you so I can learn a bit about the visual art world and the mindset of it all. Like for me, the idea of exploring things is often in the realm of subject matter, but it can also be in the realm of sounds that I might be playing with or whatever, words that I might be using. So when you think about like what you've explored throughout your time as a visual artist, like what are those? What is the realm in which that you could put words to? Like I guess, is it for you about like subject matter, like what it is that you are making people look at? Is it about color? Is it about size? Is it about, I don't know what else there is in visual
For me,
art.
it's about color.
Sure. Okay. Interesting.
Something that you put on your wall that's bright and colorful, I feel like that can change your outlook on your day. And so anything I do, I try to put in as much color as I can into it. And it can be different subject matter. I mean, it can be pop culture or a barn on the countryside. As long as I'm putting color into it, then I'm happy with it.
What do you think? How do you explain that? Like, cause there's some art that is very minimal in the color use. What do you think it is about a big diversity of color that connects with you?
I don't know.
No?
No.
I mean, shit doesn't always have to be explained,
Yeah. Maybe I should look into trying to explain that. Something about color just makes me happy.
I dig that.
Yeah, even in what I wear, I try to add color into it.
Yeah. I guess I'm kind of the opposite in that way, but that's probably why I'm not a visual artist.
No.
Yeah. I kind of do, but no, I think it's interesting. But I also am really on this kick lately of just like that art doesn't have to be explained or justified at all, and that like instincts within art are what they are, and they should just be trusted, So,
right.
But
yeah, I agree.
Just curious, I guess, what that was like, comparing that art to some more like, like minimalism, like there's an aesthetic within minimalism.
Right.
That's so
and I
color-free.
like it.
Yeah.
Like it's pleasing, but it's not what I personally would put out.
Yeah. Your stuff is very, from what I've seen of it so far, there's like just it does feel, I guess a big variety of color feels energizing in some kind of way. It feels like a lot is happening, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, is it too much?
No, not for me. No. I have tie-dye things laying around.
Wow.
So that's color for you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think especially for me, it's hard to put into words because I like a lot of different styles of art. And I play around with different styles, even in like on the digital side. Sometimes I feel like I don't have consistency in my work. And other people have told me that they do see consistency. So it's how we look at our own work is completely different from how other people look at it, which thank goodness, because we're our own biggest critics.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's always been hard for me because I can never stick to one thing visually. But it also makes it more interesting.
It does.
So,
speaking of interesting, I like how spontaneously jabby you are.
what do you mean?
I don't know. You got a surprising like edge to you. I feel.
Do
like
I?
Yeah, I'm always on my toes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I like it. Like starting out with the serial killer thing. It's just like, whoa, didn't see that coming.
I mean,
True.
You've seen your road.
Yeah, but I usually finish with serial killer, not start with it.
Yeah.
That's like the big reveal.
Wow. I ruined
like
it for you.
This
Sorry.
podcast is going to become about whether or not I'm a serial killer.
He is. he already admitted to having a basement, and there's chainsaws in there.
One.
So yeah.
One chainsaw and the rest are just,
other tools for you to kill me with.
Oh God. I promise I will not kill you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I can trust the promises of a serial killer. Do you pinky promise though?
I do.
All right. You pinky promise, then I'll take it.
I cut off the pinky, and then I promise to keep it.
All right.
Yeah, that's
At
what
least.
Is that what a pinky promise is?
That's exactly what it is.
That's what I thought.
Spot on.
Yeah, that's that's how I learned how to do it. Anyway.
Did you really? I feel very bad for your childhood.
Yeah, no kidding.
Do you change of subject? Do you struggle with keeping to one genre in music, or not really?
Well, I don't really strive for it actually. So, I guess the idea of genre to me has often been like a rule book, and it's like if you write country songs, this is the language you use, and these are the sounds you use, and you kind of stay within this parameter. And the same for every other genre of music. They have their styles and everything. And I can understand what all those things are for on a cultural level, but I don't think of myself as necessarily, I'm not trying to write a country album or a country song or whatever. I'm just sitting down with a canvas with a sheet of paper and writing whatever needs to be written for this piece of music. And I'll do whatever I want to it. So I think I often am trying not to be one single thing. I think I want to be more like, I don't know. I don't know if it sounds overly complicated or fucking like what it is. Because some people, I have memories throughout my life of people expressing sort of exhaustion about this idea of artists trying to strive away from genre. But when I think of the bands that I love, like, or just bands that I admire, like Tom Waits, like The National, like I think artists even like Johnny Cash were considered not to be what was mainstream country at the time. A bunch of other musicians I've grown up listening to, like the Avett Brothers or Old Crow or Ben Harper, all these artists didn't really fit perfectly into just one simple category. They just were more like music makers. And I think that's what I want to be too. Just a music maker that makes whatever is what I feel like.
Do you tend to gravitate
toward
to
a particular one?
Yeah.
I do love traditional sounds, so I think Americana and roots are terms that I think are loose enough that I gravitate toward. I fit in those pretty well, just because those are the sounds I like, and luckily they don't. It doesn't restrict my subject matter in any way to write songs that happen to fit in that world. You know, I can cuss in the songs. I can talk about sexuality or religion or just pure poetry or trees or nature. You know, I can just write about absolutely whatever I want, and it still kind of fit in that world.
Now, you've done this your whole life, right?
Music?
Yeah.
I guess you could say I have, yeah. I mean, I started on the drums when I was born. I just always was playing drums, but started writing words when I was like in 6th grade, and I started guitar probably when I was like 16. So I would say since 16, music has been my primary obsession in life.
Now, you have a full-time job aside from music, right?
Yeah, I'm sure
but music takes up the rest of your time.
No, I wouldn't say so. I'm trying to get it back to where music takes up the rest of my time.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it back to where music takes up the majority of my time, but I was off the road for a number of years. So it's taken me a while to get back on the road at the same scale that I used to be at. So if you're not on the road, there's not that many places to play shows, because here in town there's only like 2 places. So anyway, I'm trying to make music more of a priority in my life. Right now, podcasting actually takes up a lot of time. Video production that I do as like a freelancer takes up a decent amount of time, and then I've got 2 gigs that I do for companies. So it's a lot, which is like interesting that you bring that up, because when we talked recently, you have I don't know if you'd say a philosophy or what, but you limit how much you have to work so that you can actually have a life, which I think is interesting.
The wording of that. I'm super fortunate enough to have a job that doesn't require 5 days out of the week from me. Mm-hmm. And I've had that for about 3 years now. So yeah, I'm not wanting to go back to anything other than that. Yeah.
It is like crushing. It's and now that I'm back in a full-time swing of things, it is fucking crushing to agree to the terms that like it's okay for you to not have a life to live. It's just, I don't know. It's like, and especially post-COVID, I feel like way more people see that. and are
Right.
having a really hard time dealing with it. They want their
Or
lives
even
back.
those that were doing their job remotely at home.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing so much better. And
Yeah.
most of the jobs can still function with you doing the work from home, but are yet requiring you to come in to a cubicle and do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't be I.
No. Couldn't be I.
Mm-mm.
No, I mean, I'm feeling the same way. And right, it's tough. It's tough, but some people have it tough because there are certain jobs out there that's how you make your money, and you have to
Right.
be present or whatever. And I don't know. I can't. It's like I have such a conflict going on in my head between different like sort of roots of belief systems, and basically concerning labor, because it's like I guess it's been hard for me to like kind of shape up a clear theory about who's right about economics on the political spectrum, because it's like some people believe that the tradition of work is everything and you just work until you die. There are people who stake their whole life on that, and there are people who stake their whole life on like, fuck discipline, I don't give a shit about it, I just want to like roam around. I just want to roam around the earth.
Yeah, that's my 7-year-old right now.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there's something to that theory. There's something to both theories, you know,
Right.
because like the world needs people to show up and like help out.
Yeah.
But like there is something super self-destructive about not being invested in actually living your life. You
Right.
know?
I think also some people are just used to it, and some people just like the consistency of it,
Of like
and they're comfortable in that.
the work thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great. That's good for you.
But not I.
No. My mom, she moved from Charlotte to here, and she was looking for a job in Winston-Salem. And she's telling me about the different offers that she has. She's a nurse, and she's been a nurse since out of high school. And she's telling me, her pay and her incentives. I'm like, well, how many days a week are you going to be working? She's like, 5 days a week. I'm like, 5 days a week? You're going to be working every day? She said, yeah. And I'm like, why don't you do 3 days a week? She's like, because they're not going to let me do that. And I'm like, no, don't take that. Take another job. That's how my mind works.
Yeah.
But she likes knowing how much money she's going to get, when she's going to get it, what she's doing every day. And I get that. I have to provide for myself and for other people. And so I understand needing money, but the cost of that, it's not for me.
Yeah.
I need to be sane. And for me personally, because it's different for everyone, but for me personally to be sane, I cannot be working 5 days a week.
I'm with you on that. And which is hard for me to admit and say, because I'm doing some form of work, probably 6 days a week right now. And 5 of them for one company often, and then 2 of them for all sorts of things. And it feels that way. It's just like I was like, about, what was it, 2 weeks ago, I was kind of at a breaking point where I couldn't keep doing what I was doing. So I'm trying to find that balance now. And like, the reason I live out here is because I want to be here. I want to be like in this environment and like around these trees and outside and doing projects. And I think part of what I find so hard to master, and what I don't really understand how people manage, is just like how you wake up at like before the sun comes up and you go to a work and you come home like 12 hours later and you don't have any time to like do any of the stuff that needs to be done around your house, which I guess
Right.
most people don't live alone and like single, but so maybe that's the answer.
You need to get a soundboard so we can have sound. Wah, wah, wah.
I feel like I
Living
saw
alone
my
is
own
great.
face.
Living
when I did
alone
that.
is great. I can attest to that.
I feel like I was like having an out of body experience where I saw the look on my face that just was like a realization of like, boo.
No, but or to enjoy the outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness, I can't. Winter, where it's getting dark at 5 p.m., you're coming home and it's dark out.
Yeah.
I can't do that. My, what's it called? Like, my mental state goes down in the winter months just because of how dark it gets earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't imagine working all day.
Even this time of year, I
feel like that's super privileged, and like I feel bad saying that too. But we should all, I'm sure we all aspire to not work every day, but it's a lot of us don't have that.
Yeah.
And that's super unfortunate.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean,
like I feel bad saying it, but I shouldn't feel bad. No one should feel bad saying that they don't want to work every day.
Yeah, I don't think anyone should.
Yeah.
And the fact that anybody has to, especially people who really have to, like people who don't have enough security and don't have a high enough paying job,
right?
That they have to work like 2 jobs 7 days a week.
And I've been there.
Yeah.
Which is why now that I don't have to be there, I'm staying away from it.
Yeah.
For as long as I can.
I feel that completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, in this country too, it's like we probably have a different perspective on it. But I mean, like that, this goes back to other thinkers as well who noticed the same problem, that like when we have an economic system or a social system based on just constant labor that benefits, you know, I'm no fucking Marxist. I'm not trying to sound like I am one, but I'm just saying that it is an accurate observation that like what happens in the world, what happens in most civilizations is that not very few people prosper to the degree that they're just like totally free of any financial concern. And the majority of us are doing what we're talking about, like having to work a little bit more than we really want to and run around like with just that slight bit of panic because we don't have that bit of security that says, well, if I have to afford something, then I can. A lot of us just don't have that security.
Right.
So I don't know. I
mean, and even right now, I don't really necessarily have security. I think right now I'm just surviving, but I'd rather survive and be happy.
Yeah.
Not working every day.
Yeah. A good friend of mine said exactly that to me a while back. And he's just selling furniture and stuff and having fun and doing fun shit.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, I was just telling my boss the other day, which, by the way, the term boss, too, is just like, what? Like, I don't know. My brain has been fucking changed by something. The idea of another person being like, because of the status I have here, I tell you what to do, and I'm an authority, and you have to be afraid of what I think of you.
As 2 grown men.
Yeah, as 2 grown men close to the same age. It's embarrassing and weird. It's like, what? No, no. Everyone just do your job. But
right.
Anyway.
And it can be that way.
It can be.
Yeah, you can run a company where everyone is equal and you just have different jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is like, I've been in environments more like that, and that's what I prefer to some degree. I'm fine with people. Anyway, I'm fucking bouncing all around, but what was I telling? I was telling my boss the other day, I love the idea in my head that like I'm a hardworking laborer, that I try to do a really good job and I'm very efficient and all this stuff. But really what I feel in me is like, fuck all that. I don't like subscribing to this idea that like the best way for me to be understood is for my for what I contribute to the world is for the labor that I potentially have to offer to some company. There's something about that feels really sinister to me at this point.
I think it makes us feel sinister because so much is demanded of you. Too much. Like, I don't think we would be as sinister working for other people if we were treated like human beings.
Yeah.
Because most of the time we're not. Most of the time people will abuse your hard work and they will abuse your generosity because they're in a higher power, and so they'll ask and take more of you.
I mean, yeah, it's true. It's true. They seem to just in some companies. It's not like every company,
No,
but
yeah.
in the jobs that we're obviously talking about, they just seem to feel like the value you have has to be at your expense. It has to be like you cannot have limits to how available you can be to the company if you want to be considered an ideal employee.
Right. I was working as a barista at one point. I did that for a year. It wasn't a hard job. I liked it. It's making coffee.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it's not rocket science. But management is what was the make or break of staying with that job or not. And that says a lot.
And what was it about was it just the same shit we're talking about? Just like the obvious desire to exploit you to the degree that you couldn't take?
Yeah. Asking things of you that aren't necessarily in your job scope, or, I'm not necessarily being paid to do that. Asking too much of you,
Yeah. Long ass.
Like if you're calling out sick, you're going to be made to feel bad about that. Mm-hmm. I'm sick, dude. I'm not asking to be sick. And it's kind of ridiculous that it's that way.
Yeah, it is. Managers are fucking, yeah. And I'm fortunate because I've actually got a really good director at this current job that I'm at. He's like a great guy.
Is he listening?
I have no idea. He acted like at one point that he was interested in the fact that I had a podcast. I doubt that he listens to it.
He
If
probably
I'm wrong,
does.
then
He's probably
whatever.
listening.
But
He's great. He's fantastic.
he's actually a super nice guy, and we talk really productively. But I tell him outright, I'm just like, I know what you want out of an employee. I know you want somebody to be like, gung ho. How long do you need me, boss? I'll be here for 13 hours. And I'm like, that's just not me. I don't do that. I don't subscribe to it. And the reason being, I just have too much other work to do. I just don't have it to offer.
Right.
I got to come home and edit a podcast and edit a video for another company. And I also got to just not want to die. I got to sleep.
Yeah, that's good. Not wanting to die.
Yeah. Fuck wanting to die.
I had a question. It's off topic. But you grew up in wanting to do music. Mm-hmm. And you wanted that to be your full time. And it was at one point, right?
Yeah.
How did your parents feel about that?
Not good. It was my family. I don't come from a family of like high achievers. I come from a family of just like normal ass, average ass people.
I like that.
Yeah, they're great. Whatever. They're just cool people, and pretty much on both sides. I think it was viewed as, oh no, like how long is this dream gonna be, and like what's gonna happen here? And I think, and to be fair, when I was 19 and quit school, I didn't really have a great plan for it, and I didn't have the most clear route for my ambition, to execute this thing. It was just sort of like, well, that's what I want to do, and I guess I'm just going to start fumbling around the world to see how to try to pursue it. Mm-hmm. And so, they bailed me out of a lot of situations. They were sort of just like, they were like, you really should have a more practical goal or whatever, but like if this is what you're going to do, that's fine. But I could always see it in their face. It was like, I hope he'll give this up soon. And it probably took a few years, I think, of me doing it before they started to shift on that and be like supportive of it and like come to shows or something, or like kind of invest in it, like buy me an instrument here and there or whatever. So eventually that sorted out. And then when I think a lot of those things about being younger and less prepared for it or whatever, I think they kind of sorted themselves out over time to where it was like it was approached in a way more practical way. And I also became willing to like do other jobs to make shit balanced out. So
Right.
It became way less of a threat. But when you're 19, they see it as like, oh no, is he going to ruin his life? Is he going to go down this path where he's just he just is a loser or whatever?
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
We are losers.
What about you?
Well, when I was in college, I graduated high school at 16, and I ended up getting pregnant at 17. And so I became a nurse because that allowed me to work at night and then take care of my son during the day. But later on, pursuing art, my mom, even when I was younger, she was always pretty encouraging of it. And not everyone has that.
Yeah.
And I'm super grateful because she, out of high school, she knew she wanted to be a nurse, and that's what she's always done. And so you could see that and think, yeah, she's going to want her daughter to do the same thing. She's going to want her daughter to have a clearer path in life. But she never pushed that on me. She never pushed me in any sort of direction. She always allowed me to just see what I wanted to do in life. And I'm still doing that. Yeah. I'm still not sure of, I want to do a lot of things. I want to be a lot of things. And she's always still very encouraging of that. And I'm super grateful for it.
What other kind of things do you want to do or be?
I tend to always gravitate towards the medical field. I've been a nurse. I've been an EMT. I was a chiropractor's assistant for a while. And a while back, I thought maybe I should try medical coding just for the fun of it. And so I tend to gravitate towards the medical field, and everyone, so much of my family, they're all nurses themselves. But I don't know, it's a struggle because I also want to do a lot in art, and I want to see where that takes me. But again, we also need to survive. So
is it hard to, the type of art that you do, is it best, I think so, I imagine so, but the type of art, is it best for you if you can 100% just commit to doing that as a full-time thing, or is it better for you to have it balance with other shit as well?
I think it depends on where I want to take it. If I want to be a book illustrator, I think I'd have to go full on 24 hours a day focusing on that. And I think I could make that happen.
Yeah.
If I wanted to, if I could focus on that. I think it just depends on where I want to take my art. And again, I'm not exactly sure right now where I want to go.
Book illustrator, though, that seems awesome. That just popped out.
Yeah.
Is that something you've considered? That's one.
It's
of the
something
things
I've thought about recently. Yeah.
That seems like it would be so cool. Just because it also, I guess, there's a collaborative thing there with other forms of art.
Right. With writers.
Yeah, with writers, and I imagine you could even do that same thing. I'm sure you could, if you had that part of, if you were whatever, that was part of the resume you're building up, I'm sure that could translate over to illustration or whatever, design for other musicians or some shit.
Right.
Or even, what about have you ever been tempted toward animation?
There's that too. I could gravitate towards animating. There's a local artist in North Carolina. He does animation for a cartoon that's on Hulu. I can't remember the name for it. But he started out, fairly late in life and fairly small, and he just dove into the animation and it took off. And so I know, I'm sure if I focused myself on that and perfecting that craft, I could do something towards that as well. There's just a lot of different ways in which I can take my art that I'm still wanting to just figure out where to put my focus on.
I can't ask you something that you haven't figured out yet, but I guess, what is that like? How do you go about trying to figure that out? I guess, do you know what that starts to look like, or do you know by what point you want to have it figured out and shit like that?
No, I don't have. I know once I set a goal for myself, then I'll be able to go through it. Whether it's getting in touch with a writer and saying, "Hey, I have this story in my head. Could you write it and I'll illustrate it?" And you work with each other in that sense. And you have a goal by the end of the year, let's have this book written and illustrated and figure out how to publish it. But I haven't made a goal for myself yet.
Yeah.
So I don't have a clear view of that.
I'm very curious to see what you end up deciding what you want to go forward with.
Me too.
Okay, and I guess that part is a bit captivating to me because I feel like that's a little bit me right now as well. But music, it's like the performance side of it is always there. It's always something I want to be doing, but it's like there's different possibilities there too. And I feel as though I'm a bit in the process of trying to figure out if I'm not going to just be trying to live on the road all the time, how I'm going to really modernize what my effort is, which some of that is involved here and doing things here and stuff. But there's still, I mean, that the reason I asked what I just asked was just like to get some insight, because I too am trying to figure out how to maybe make some steps toward defining what the goal is going to be and what am I going to absolutely sacrifice in the name of pursuing this one thing. And that's a hard process sometimes, to really like narrow in on what the vision is.
Right. Because then I think my issue is, again, with the balance. I feel like if I'm putting too much thought, or I'm worrying about I need to really start working on this thing and I need to have it done by this date, then it becomes less fun for me.
Yeah.
And so I think that's my issue. And as well as just, I want to be better before I pursue something bigger.
A friend of mine and I were talking about some shit like that, and how, in addition, so I guess it may be the fun thing that you just mentioned, but like some of the time during the quarantine shit when I was like not working at all, it was really, really hard to make music. Of course, my mind was all fucked up and like I believed society was coming to an end and all this. So I had different influences going on. But sometimes I have found that like if I don't have like maybe a year ago or so when I was working a job I hated, I would come home and on my days off I was really motivated to make music. And sometimes without that sort of a balance of something about life that I don't enjoy, I feel a little bit less artistically productive. Sometimes I feel as though being artistically, creatively productive, for me, it works better if I have some part of my life that is dysfunctional or that I dislike, which is like where jobs sometimes come in handy, oddly enough.
No, that makes sense. No, it makes sense. I tend to make more art when other things in my life aren't going as I would like them to go.
Right.
I focus in on art, which I think is healthy. It's a healthy way to cope.
It is, but it makes me worry.
Yeah, don't ever be happy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, what happens if happens if
screwed.
you sort your life out and like get happy? Do you you lose it?
Yeah. I hate to tell you.
I needed to hear it.
Don't ever go to therapy.
I already did.
Did you really?
Yeah,
That's
I
good.
did. Yeah.
How was that?
I mean, it was productive. It was definitely a good experience. I sorted out some rough shit, but and he was, after I got laid off and everything, we kept our sessions going for a while for like $20 because he was just like, if you need help, like I'm still here. I'll do it for free if I have to. And I was like, I'm not going to ask you to do that. Anyway, he was very giving in that way during that time. But with everything that happened and just like mental changes I was going through, I found myself kind of ready to exit it. And I felt like I think I'm ready to try to steer this car on my own. But
were you right?
Yeah, I think so. I have, I don't expect my mind to be perfect. I don't expect to not be trying to I don't expect to not have to navigate difficulties ever in life. So I still have difficulties I navigate, but I feel more equipped to navigate them without looking to somebody else to like to guide that process.
How long were you going?
I think it was about a year and a half.
That's a good amount of time.
Yeah.
I think everyone should go to therapy. I feel like therapy should be required.
Yeah.
In middle school.
Damn.
You don't?
I think it could be a really good idea.
I think it's preventative.
I could see that being a valuable thing. Yeah. So I'm guessing you have had your own experiences with therapy based on... No?
No.
Have you not?
I've never gone. No. But that's just because like I think I can't afford it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would go if I could.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree. I think in many of my close friendships, this has been something that we've been open with each other about. And it's like, I don't know anybody who says, yeah, this was bullshit. Like, I regret doing it. Like, as soon as people meet a person that opens this door that's like, I want to help you solve your problems and I'm going to challenge you a little, but I'm on your side. It's just like it can be a life-changing thing, I think, for a lot of people. And
I think it takes people a lot, though, to first go in that door, right? Because I've met people who refuse to do therapy.
Yeah. That's interesting, because, yes, that is true. I mean, a good friend of mine comes to mind who felt that way. For me, it didn't feel that way. And I remember when you start looking at, like, therapists, there's all these, like... these websites that have them all listed on there, and you kind of get a glimpse of who they are and like what they value by the way that they describe themselves. Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing ones that would be like, it's very brave of you just to like make this first step. And I remember for me feeling like that compliment wasn't necessary because it was like too, I don't know. I didn't feel like I was being brave. What I felt like was, I really need help sorting out some of these problems. And I want to do it in a matter-of-fact way. I don't want somebody to just, like, make me feel emotionally sort of, like, I don't know. It felt... I don't know. I guess I don't know how to express what I'm trying to say. I didn't want to congratulate myself for doing it, I suppose. And maybe that's just me interpreting that whole part of the language cynically. Mm-hmm. But yes, like what you said, for some of my friends, it was an extremely hard first step to take, and they were very reluctant to do it. And yeah, maybe for them that language really meant something to them.
Yeah,
you know. But you don't sound like it. You don't sound like it would be hard for you to step into it. You sound like you would straight up embrace it if given the opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to sit there and listen to me babble on about myself and what I'm yeah, for sure. Hear me out. Tell me what I'm missing because I could use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what, in a way less expensive but way less productive way, that's podcasts can be good for that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
We'll go with that. Scrabble babble.
Scrabble babble. I really think that you should get that going.
Yeah. Not me.
I don't know.
You should just create a second podcast.
I could produce it for you. You could just host it.
I'll think about it.
I don't know what kind of boss you are. You might be
Oh, I'd be horrible.
Yeah, you might expect me to work like 27-hour days.
Yes. That's exactly what I would be like. Bring your chainsaw. Chainsaws and coffees. That's another good podcast name.
Yeah. Damn. You're really good at this.
I am.
Jesus Christ.
Natural.
Yeah. Chainsaws and coffees. That's very two different aesthetics, two different vibes for sure.
It's you having a one-on-one conversation with different convicted serial killers, having coffee with them. Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That is intense.
Wow.
Am I doing
I would absolutely listen to that.
Am I doing it from behind bars?
No.
I'm on the outside. Okay. Good.
No, it's just like this.
Just like
yeah,
this,
I mean, maybe we'll have like one security guard here.
Dude.
But just like this.
Okay, I am picturing. Okay, imagine this. Imagine a host of some sort. Okay, somebody in Hollywood should do something like this, but I imagine it like legit the real Michael Myers in costume coming in and like sitting down with coffee. Like, so Michael, how's your chase? How's your pursuit of your sister or whatever? And he's like, oh, it's been okay. I mean, just like totally talking casually, but it's Michael fucking Myers.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great idea too. So you took it in the more literal, true sense, but I'm thinking of it in the realm of fiction a little bit. I think both of these should exist. So we got
They should.
chainsaws and coffee.
And Scrabble Babble.
Scrabble Babble. And then maybe like
I'll think of something in like 10 minutes.
Yeah. You take care of that. I'll
will.
take care of the microphones and the
Yes,
chainsaws.
do that. And the chainsaws.
So you've lived in a lot of places. I mean, you were telling me you're from...
Yeah, so I was born in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Then we moved to Charlotte. And so I was in Charlotte from like 9 years old up until like 20 years old. And then I lived in Philadelphia and then Virginia. And then I moved to Winston.
Oh, Virginia. I don't think I caught that before. What part of Virginia?
Richmond.
Maybe you did tell me that. I feel like you must have told me that.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah. But so, yeah, you're in Winston. I mean, how has Winston treated you since you've been here?
I like Winston.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's small, but it's not too small.
What's like your go-to thing? What do you look for in a place to live?
Any place that I've lived hasn't been because necessarily I've wanted to live there.
Okay.
It's just been a matter of where life took me in that moment.
Yeah.
I never in my life would I ever actually choose to live in Philadelphia. But that's where I was. But I did like Winston because it was close to Charlotte, close to home, but not too close to home.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd never like spent more than a day in Winston before I just moved here.
Really?
Yeah.
So what made you pick Winston other than just, I mean, because there's like a lot of towns that are close to Charlotte, and you picked Winston, which I'm glad about.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good thing.
I just picked it.
That's awesome. Winston's like a charming little place.
It is. Well, and I was able to find a house for rent and a job within like 2 weeks of being here, which amazed me.
Yeah, I hear. Well, I mean, I can't speak on any of the specifics, but that is I hear rent is getting harder in Winston or whatever. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've been renting. I've been here for 3 years, and I've been renting at the same place, and they haven't raised their rent on me.
That's nice.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Especially in the area that I'm in, they could have easily raised it. They could have easily sold their house.
Yeah.
So thank goodness they haven't done that. I'm hoping to stay there for as long as I can. But yeah, I hear rent is getting pretty high up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Shit feels a little unstable, obviously.
Has your rent been raised here?
No, my landlord is like incredibly chill, and it's so surprising that it hasn't been, because I don't know. I've been so strangely fortunate in my life being here. We have a pretty positive relationship, so no, things have been good here. I've been able to, and he was even, in between things when things were hard, he was willing to kind of, I never actually had to miss any rent, but he made it clear that if during quarantine and shit, when I was without a job, he was like, he was open to just being like, I'm not going to try to kick you out or anything like that.
Yeah, I think I told my landlord, like, hey, I'm going to be like a week late, like when COVID first hit. Mm-hmm. She's like, yeah, that's fine. Like, don't even worry about it. And thankfully I didn't have to miss any rent either throughout all that. But yeah, they've always been nice.
Yeah. Having a good landlord that'll.
It's hard to come by.
Yeah. That'll change your fucking life. If
oh, yeah, for sure.
That can be bad. So I guess what is Well, right now you have a I forget the website, but you have an online store and stuff for some of your.
Yeah, I think my focus right now is just honing in on um what's the word? On my skill and just getting better and seeing where that takes me.
Hmm.
Still putting art out there, still selling it.
Like, you talking about when you say selling it? You talking about commissions? You talking about T-shirts? You talking about products?
All of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what all are you doing right now to?
So I have digital commissions. I have some apparel, prints, stickers
Those are all on your.
on the website. Yep.
Oh, your website.
Well, it's on like Etsy.
Etsy.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm familiar with the merchandise website you have.
Yeah.
I can't remember, what the hell is that thing called?
Bonfire.
Bonfire.
Yeah.
I have a Bonfire for Red House, and I have a Spring Store for my own art.
Got you. Okay.
I haven't used Bonfire as much, but anyway. So is Etsy where you usually sell a lot of your stuff?
Usually, yeah.
Okay.
And then I do a lot of commission work. I think like a third of my income from art comes from commissions, whether it's logos or merch design, things like that.
So.
Dang, I had a question and now I lost it.
Oh.
Hold on, give me 1 second. Oh, yeah. Okay. So we don't know really each other at all.
True.
Have you ever been married?
No, I've not.
Is that like a goal or?
Yeah, I would say so. I've been like confronting that question lately.
Mm-hmm.
I have gone back and forth in my life because I think I've embraced, individuality to the degree where where I like being independent and stuff, but I don't know. I guess yes. Like I think that I don't know what anybody else thinks, but I think I like the idea still. Though I've never really experienced it. I've never shared a space with anybody. I've never lived with anybody. I've never split my life with anybody. Mm-hmm. So I really don't know what that feels like. But I like that idea for the future. I think it's a beautiful idea for a balanced life to to kind of go at it from that angle with being on a team with somebody and pursuing a family and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, if, maybe you could tell me about your experience with that stuff and what you think about it if you want to.
Oh, Lord.
Unless you don't.
No, I mean, marriage is hard. Well, I want to take that back. Marriage is hard if you're not with the right person. Mm. I think it can be fairly easy if you find someone that can go to you and say, I deal with these things and I'm going to need this from you and this is what I can give you. And if you're able to tell that person the same thing, then I think it's fairly easy to work like that and work together. Mm. Yeah. With the issues that you individually have and the issues that you'll have together.
And if you say,
I think if you're upfront about it.
Yeah.
And if you know yourself well enough as a person to know what you need, and you can tell that to your significant other, then I think it's easier.
What is your take on how that compares to a life of just not looking to one person for that role, but kind of being a few episodes back, I guess, the question of polyamory came up or something, and the idea of open relationships and shit. And it's how do you think maybe a good version of what you just described, a good marriage or whatever, a good partnership compares to say seeking that from multiple people or whatever?
I've never done that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't know. If you know yourself well enough as a person and you know that that's what you want and you're fine with that, go for it. You go for it.
Yeah, sure.
I think that would be extremely hard.
Yeah.
Personally.
I do too.
I wouldn't be able to do that.
I there's something about it I dislike. And like I think some people feel as though by saying that I sound like I'm being some sort of judgmental, like non-open-minded person, and I don't mean to sound that way.
No,
but
yeah.
there's something about it that I think lacks like clarity, or lacks like decision, like lacks the confidence of a decision being made.
Right.
You know? I don't know. I don't know. And I also, anyway, aside from that.
Yeah. And I kind of agree. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. What and why is it? Just because, like many of us, are you just wired for just like maybe one person can have access to that at any given time or whatever, like that level of teammate status?
I mean, yeah, I do believe that, but it doesn't. I don't know how to put it into words. If you want to be with more than one person, then just be with more than one person.
Mm-hmm.
Why put why put a title to it, or why marry one person if you're just gonna go to someone else for something else? Then just don't get married. Don't put a label to it. Just date different people if that's what you want to do, I guess.
Yeah.
But again, I've never delved into that, so I don't understand it.
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that answers that question. But then there's a question. I was talking to a coworker of mine, and it was like there's a question like, what has it been like for you as an artist having kids and stuff? Obviously, kids and family, like those are important priorities, and so I guess like what has it been like to navigate playing the role of a mom as well as like maintaining that space to be an artist?
It's always come fairly easy and natural. Being a mom has never really hindered that artistic side of me.
That's cool.
Do you know of people who it has?
Well, I just, for myself, have been like, what if I started a family right now? If I that's what I did, I would be like, that's the one thing I would be nervous about. Is like,
about time being taken away from your music.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Or just even, honestly, I think there's a question of like, would I have that ambition anymore to make music if I had that responsibility? And that became a big part of my identity. Maybe it would like not make me as interested in being a musician, you know? Sometimes I wonder that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have it in their head that having kids is kind of like an end all thing. Like, you're not going to be able to do this, you're not going to be able to do that. And I think that's in your own head, and yeah, that'll happen if you let that happen.
Yeah.
You make time for what you want to make time for.
Yeah, I think it's got to be true.
And if you had kids, maybe you'd want to share your music with them, and that'll push you even more to do your art.
Yeah. I mean, I think I definitely wouldn't not be interested in music. I think if I had kids, it would be like, I think I would then feel a different pressure that was like, if I'm not going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars playing music every year, then I really want to make sure I'm making enough money to like have a stable life. So I'm sure music would still be something I created, but it would just, when I think about it and when I try to anticipate that possibility in my life, I'm just like, man, it's, I think it'd be hard, like living on the road and not making, sufficient money from music. It'd be hard to justify putting a lot of time into that when I would want to make sure that like life was afforded and everything.
Is having kids important to you?
Oh.
I feel like the answer is no. I
don't know. I think it's yes, but I always come back to this thing of like being afraid I can't afford it, which is like kind of sad, I guess, to think about. But
Yeah, it's a reality though.
yeah, that's the main concern is like it's a real financial thing that like it can put a bind on people, and I wouldn't want to fuck that up. So that's the concern. If that wasn't a concern, I would definitely say yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's unfortunate that we have to like even think of like I am not usually given to criticisms of society, generally speaking, as a whole. But it is unfortunate that like we happen to live in this condition where people have to decide between like having kids and like carrying on the fucking species versus like 401k and like mortgage. It's just that's a sad
Right.
it's a sad problem.
It is.
I don't know.
It is.
So we're in pretty personal territory. So
Is that okay?
Yes, that's great.
Oh, okay.
So do you think being married again is a priority to you?
It's not a priority. I wouldn't mind if it were to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm also pretty content in being alone. I'm not someone that wakes up and I'm like, oh, I'm waking up alone. I'm crying myself to sleep. No, I wake up pretty happy and content with myself and the life I've created. But if that were to happen again, yeah, that would be great.
I hear that.
Yeah.
I used to like, back in my deepest music days, I did used to like really struggle with waking up alone. Loser. I know.
Were you ever in a serious relationship?
I've had serious relationships, yeah, but you know, always with that's still that distance. That was like we've never like I've like we don't share life. We're just like we're just imagining the potential that maybe we could have a future together or something.
Right.
You know. I don't know. I think I used to dread being alone more than I have for the last few years, for the last like 3 years or something.
I think it's important for everyone to be comfortable alone.
Yeah.
You can't look for happiness in other people.
Agreed.
You'll end up unhappy.
Yeah.
Because people will disappoint you.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie.
If you have one.
You know, my son will ask me all the time, what's your favorite color? I can never choose it.
Really?
Like, that's an impossible question for me. I like them all. I don't have a favorite movie.
Do you have... Wait.
I can't really choose a favorite anything, if I'm going to be honest.
Really?
I like things too much. I can't. See, and I get that response. No one gets, everyone is like, oh yeah, my favorite is this or this. I can't do that. That's way too hard of a game for me.
I do hear you. Like, I feel that way about songs. I've often said that's like asking me what my favorite grain of sand is. It's just there's too many of them and they're all too interesting, or some of them are awful, but there's too much variety to narrow it down that much. But color, I do have an answer for, and movie I tend to have at least some form of answer for. And you know, it's not like it's, if I was writing my memoir, I wouldn't just write like my favorite movie was this, period. There was no other movie that compared to it.
Right.
But I tend to have like a staple answer for convenience sake. But color, I'm very clear. Red is my favorite color. It does something to me.
Red is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it does make sense as a visual artist that you would appreciate other colors too much to be able to pick a favorite.
Yeah, he hates that response. He doesn't like that I can't choose a favorite one.
Huh. What's his favorite color?
Blue.
Blue.
So, I know. Just blue. Not cerulean. Not... Just blue.
Just blue. Like a darker shade or a lighter shade?
In between.
In between.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like blood red kind of thing. Like pretty much the color of the house. It's like a slightly dark red.
Was it always that color, or did you paint it that color?
Oh, it was already this color, which
Oh,
was
that's
like
convenient.
super fortunate.
Yeah.
It's part of why I'm like convinced I think that I'm supposed to be here. It's just-
So what's your favorite movie?
my answer is Her. Is
I have not seen that. I'm very sorry.
it's quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my answer. Now there's a lot of movies I really love, and we can talk about all of them if you want to, but
Let's go through the list. See, again, I can't choose a favorite movie because I like The Sound of Music as much as I like Finding Nemo. So
yeah.
there's too many good movies out there.
Finding Nemo. God, I haven't seen that in probably a decade.
Are you subscribed to the Disney?
I do have it.
Dude,
Yeah.
you need to watch all those movies.
Well, maybe I'll get that rolling this afternoon.
Yeah.
Like that'll be my Monday.
They're better. The second time watching them as an adult, they're better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
As an adult,
As
quote unquote.
as an older person.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was maybe it was the color thing. I thought I had a question for you, but maybe it was going to be your favorite color. I'm not sure. I guess you want to talk about El Salvador being El Salvadorian, or about the future.
I'll do El Salvador for 200.
Very
yes,
good.
I am Hispanic. Oh, goodness. Both of my parents are El Salvadorian.
Yeah.
Have never been. It's considered one of the most dangerous places to live in South America, so I don't know if I'll ever go.
Yeah.
I want to, though.
What
See
kind
my
of
roots.
dangerous is it?
What kind of dangerous is it?
I guess like what's the threat?
Gangs.
Gangs.
Yep.
When my cousin was there when he was a kid, who's the one I told you about, who was El Salvadorian, I guess he did notice that was a thing. Like he didn't necessarily feel safe at night. This was probably 20 years ago or more than that. No, it was more than that.
Right. So it's even worse now. It's a beautiful place. Mountains, volcanoes, very lush and green. So I would like to visit.
Yeah.
You're from Cuba.
Yes, my grandmother's from Cuba.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I too would like to visit. You know, I mean, I've gotten to observe Cuba a lot through just like the modern day, through people who get to visit there and people who live there and shit. And I want to be there so bad, but I just have no idea whether to predict that as a possibility or not. And especially since the push against the government started, and I don't really know how that's shaped up, but I think it got pretty ugly. I mean, I saw evidence of some pretty rough stuff, and if they collapse, like, I don't know. I feel like I hope that they collapse economically soon, I guess, so that maybe they can dismantle the dictatorship that's down there, and maybe they can be part of the world again. That would be cool.
Now, your grandparents moved from where? To the U.S.?
Yeah, my grandmother moved to New Jersey to go to school.
Okay.
Like before Castro took over, and her sister did the same thing, but I don't think her sister went to New Jersey. But they kind of like they left Cuba and started pursuing their lives, and their parents stayed in Cuba. And then in like throughout the 60s and stuff, my grandma was in New Jersey and New York and Miami. And my great-grandmother was flying back and forth from Cuba to Miami to go visit her and take care of her and all this stuff and going back and forth. And around the time that my grandmother had her first kid, that was when Castro took over. And my grandma was like, I can't come back to Cuba. Well, because she really couldn't, except for I think like one time. And long story short, it took her, everything shut down. And it took about a decade. It took about 10 years. I think she said 7 years. I think it took 7 years for her to be able to get her parents out of Cuba to move them up here to live with her. So when I was a kid, my great grandparents lived next door to my Cuban grandmother, and my great grandmother lived to be 99, and my great grandfather lived to be 102.
Wow.
So I did get to know them for a while, but yeah. So they all got out of Cuba pretty much right around when Castro, or my grandma got out right when Castro took over, and her parents got out a bit later.
Where's your grandfather from?
Havana. Oh, on the my grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandfather's from Mount Airy,
Okay.
north of here, and yeah, I thought you meant my great grandfather. He was from Havana,
yeah.
but.
Do you know how they met? Your grandfather and your grandmother?
Yeah. My grandmother started working she started working in hotels, which is where my grandfather worked. My grandfather was like a bellboy in hotels, and my grandmother, I think, was like an elevator operator or something like that. So they met, I think, in New York, and got hitched and started pursuing life. And they lived a pretty rich, interesting life because they worked in New York and DC area, and this was like the 60s and stuff, like 50s and 60s, I guess. So they were like my grandfather ran into people like JFK and MLK, and he tells stories about how he was like a bellboy for like New York gangsters that would like have meetings and tip him money and stuff. So they lived a pretty weird life, and then moved back here to be closer to his folks in Mount Airy.
It's a good story.
Yeah. They're pretty good folks. She's a fierce lady, my grandmother. Yeah. Hulda.
Yeah, she sounds it.
Yeah. She ain't no joke. She's no joke. She hides the empanadas.
She hides them.
Yeah, keeps them for herself.
How dare she? I called my grandmother, it was last week or 2 weeks ago, and I said, hey, can you make some pupusas just for me to pick up? And I'm thinking, like, I'm asking for, like, later in the week. And she's like, oh, yeah, just text me when you're on your way. And I'm like, today? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. I have them on the spot like that. Grandmothers are great.
So is, like, the majority of family, are they in the area?
No, I just have my grandmother and my mother in Winston.
Okay.
I have an aunt in South Carolina, and the rest of my aunts and uncles are still in Boston.
Oh yeah. So, was it your grandparents? Were they the first ones to come from El Salvador to here?
So my grandmother and my mom basically fled El Salvador. And at the time, my mom was the only sibling that my grandmother could take with her. So they left El Salvador and they went to California. And little by little, the siblings started coming one by one.
Why was she the only one?
So that's quite a long story.
Okay.
But to shorten it, they were running from being killed, and they just kind of had to leave. And my mother was the only one that was with my grandmother at that time.
I see.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. That sounds intense.
Yeah.
Sounds like some real life shit.
Yeah. It wasn't hard, and I can still tell that there's like tension between the siblings because of that, which I understand. But yeah, that was traumatic for all of them.
Yeah,
whether they recognize that or not, it was traumatic for all of them, and I'm sure that in ways they're still dealing with it.
So, were you the first generation to just like you start your life here?
Yeah, to be born here. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, myself, I feel pretty disconnected from the Cuban part of my heritage, and that's sad. It's sad as far as I'm concerned. It's something I want to be more in touch with. But since you're first generation, like, is that like a big part of your life? And do you see the influence of like an El Salvadorian heritage in your life?
I see some of it, but not as much as I think other first generations see it, if that makes sense. My mom was fairly young when they moved to the United States, and she's very Americanized, and she was very Americanized by the time she was raising us. Mm-hmm. So the only time we really spoke Spanish was like at church. So sometimes I wish I had it more in me, or like I related more.
Yeah.
But I feel a little Salvadorian, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you don't feel Cuban, or do you feel Cuban?
I choose to feel Cuban, but like if it comes down to it, I don't. I really don't. Like,
yeah.
I know I'm not. I know that. I just know that if I showed up in Cuba, like, yo, this is where I'm supposed to be, they'd be like, nah, you don't belong here.
Yeah.
I know I don't have it, but it's like a ghost that I have. It's like it's in there. It's just, I don't. It's just not alive. As much as I wish it was. For me, that draws me into Cuban music, and I guess that's what I was thinking to ask you. If you like, is there any part of you that is tempted to maybe explore El Salvadorian traditional art forms, or like the visual side of that?
I haven't. And now that you're saying it and asking, it's like, man, I really should.
Yeah.
I've never thought to.
Yeah, I bet it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
The little bit that I've tried to do on my own, just exploring Cuban music and even Cuban religion and Cuban visual art as well, is just like so fucking rich, and that it's kind of nice to have that option to go back into these other cultures and just like devote some time to it. I'll be curious to see if you do.
I'll let you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that we brought all this shit into the conversation. I think that was pretty nice and personal. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we wrap it up today?
I don't think so. We've talked about a lot of different things.
We really have.
It's been quite a mixture.
Quite a variety show. Mm-hmm. Marriage, Hispanicanism.
Hispanicanism. That's it.
Art. Your favorite color, which is blue.
No, that's not my favorite color. Don't you dare tell anyone I have a favorite color.
I don't title the episodes, but I'm gonna title this episode
Stop.
Karla's favorite color.
Stop.
Hey, thank you for being here today, for real.
Yeah, thank you for asking me.
I'm excited to get to know you more, and so I'm
a big letdown. Don't be excited.
Well, I guess we'll wrap it up for today, but let's do it again, I guess, sometime. But
yeah, for sure.
Thank you again, for real.
Thank you.
I think that's the end.